සියලුම SLT මොබිටෙල් සේවාවන් MySLT ඇප් එක හරහා කරගන්න. සියලුම SLT මොබිටෙල් සේවාවන් MySLT ඇප් එක හරහා කරගන්න.
Closure. Acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe says he is dedicated to concluding investigations on the Easter Sunday attacks without further delays. Says assistance from the UK law enforcement authorities will be sought. Vote for presidency. Nominations to fill the vacancy for the office of president to be submitted tomorrow. SJB confident of victory for their candidate, while SLPP General Secretary reiterates party support for acting president despite dividing opinion. Obligation. Sri Lankan envoy to China says Sri Lanka's largest creditors, World Bank and Asian Development Bank, should be able to come up with a package to help Sri Lanka deal with outstanding debt. Withdraw. Energy Minister says no fuel until vehicles removed from long queues at Sipetco filling stations. All this and much more coming up tonight on First at 9. This Monday, the 18th of July, 2022.
Nava life boy kohomba swabhavika kohoma saarayan samaga haanikara paraban rahitai.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. I'm Andrew Bernard. Now in top stories for tonight, Acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that he is dedicated to forming an all-party government in order to develop the country during the next 2 years, together with the participation of all parties. Delivering a special statement, the acting president said that he is dedicated to concluding investigations on the Easter Sunday terror attack without further delay, adding that he would like to obtain the assistance from the UK and its law enforcement authorities for the purpose.
මම මැයි 13 වෙනිදා අගමැතිකම බාරගත් අවස්ථාවේදී ආර්ථිකය කඩාවැටීමෙන් ප්‍රශ්න ගණනාවක් මතුවලා තිබුණා. ඒව විසඳ ගන්නට තමයි මං ක්‍රියා කළා තියෙන්නේ. යල කන්නට අද පොහොර තිබෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මහ කන්නට උවමනා පොහොර තමයි දැන් අපි ලබා ගන්නට ක්‍රියා කරගෙන යන්නේ. අපි කැමති මහ කන්නේදී අපි ආපහු ආහාර වලින් ස්වයංපෝෂිත වෙනවනම්. අද ගෑස් අකණ්ඩව ලබා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ ගැන ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඩීසල් ඒ වගේම අකණ්ඩව අපි ලබා දෙනවා. පෙට්‍රල් ගැන මෙතෙක් ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබුණා. ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම මම ජූනි මාසේ ප්‍රකාශ කරේ ජූලි මාසේ සති 3ක් තමයි අපිට අමාරුම කාලෙ වෙන්නේ ඉන්ධන ලබා ගන්න. දැන් ජූලි 21 වෙනිදා ඉඳන් පෙට්‍රල් ලබා දෙන්න අපිට පුළුවන්. පෙට්‍රල් සඳහා ලෝක මිල අඩුුනේ නිසා ඒ මිලේ ඒ වාසිය අපි මේ රටේ පාරිභෝගිකයන්ට ලබා දෙනවා. ආර්ථිකය හදාගන්නට IMF සමග සාකච්ඡා ආරම්භ කරා. මිත්‍ර රටවල් එක්ක කතා කරගෙන යනවා. එපමණක් නෙමෙයි. මේ කාලය තුලදී විශේෂයෙන්ම ආහාර ගැන ප්‍රශ්න තියෙන අඩු ආදායම් ලාභීන් ඉන්නවා. ඒ සියලු දෙනාටම ආහාර ලබා දෙන්න අපි ක්‍රියා කරනවා. තව එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි අපි හැම එකටම තියෙන පාස්කු ඉරිදා බෝම්බේ පිළිබඳ. ඒ වැඩ කටයුතු එකක්වත් අවසන් නොවීම ගැන. මම හිතන්නේ මගේ කැපවීම නම් ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳලා දාන්න. හැමදාම අපි මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ඇදගෙන යන්න උවමනා නැහැ. මේ කොමිසමේ වාර්තාවලට අමතරව තවත් වාර්තා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මම කැමති මේ ගැන යලිත් සමාලෝචනයක් කරන්න. I think we must ensure that this is brought to an end and there should be a full scale impartial review of the material that's available. If everyone is willing, I would like to get the help of the United Kingdom and their police authorities. They are the best that we can find, in addition to the people from Sri Lanka who will be working on this issue, because it's the responsibility of the government to ensure that this matter is finalized without any further delay. ඒ වගේම මේ රටේ අද නීතිය කැඩීමේ ව්‍යාපාරයක් තියෙනවා. අපිට තියෙන්නේ ඒකට විරුද්ධව නීතිය හා සාමය ආරක්ෂා කරන්න. ෆැසිස්ට් ක්‍රමවේදයෙන් රටක නීතිය හා සාමය නැති කරන්න ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේම මම පිළිගන්නවා සාමකාමී අරගලකරුවන්. අරගලයේ දීලා සාමකාමී මේ රටේ මේ ක්‍රමවේදය වෙනස් කරන්න ඕන කියන අය. මමත් හිතන්නේ මේ රටේ ක්‍රමවේදය වෙනස් කරන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඒ සාමකාමී අරගලකරුවන්ට මේ රටේ මේ ක්‍රමවේදයේ වෙනස ගැන සාකච්ඡාව ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්න අවස්ථා ලබා දෙන්න තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අපිට විධායක ජනාධිපතිකම ගැන සාකච්ඡා කරන ගමන් මම හිතන්නේ මීට වඩා වැදගත් කාරණයකුත් තියෙනවා. ඒ තමයි අපේ දේශපාලන පක්ෂවල අනාගත ක්‍රියාමාර්ගය. අපි එක එක්කෙනාට විරුද්ධ වෙලා රට විනාශ කරනවද? නැත්නම් අපේ පක්ෂ සාමූහිකව රට වෙනුවෙන් වැඩ කටයුතු කළා මේ රට ගොඩ ගන්නවද කියන එක තමයි වැදගත්ම දේශපාලන ප්‍රශ්නේ අද අපිට තියෙන්නේ. මේ රට ගොඩ ගන්න පුළුවන්. අවුරුදු ගණන් උවමනා නැහැ. අපි මේ අවුරුද්දෙන් පස්සේ එන අවුරුද්දේ මීට වඩා හොඳ තත්වයක ඉන්නවා. ඒ වගේම මම බලන්නේ ඊළඟ අවුරුදු දෙක තුළදී අපි සියලු දෙනාම එකතු වෙලා මේ රට ගොඩ ගන්න. ඒකයි සර්වපාක්ෂික ආණ්ඩුවක් ඇති කරන්න මම කැප වෙලා ඉන්නේ.
Now, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka called on acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe to revoke the state of emergency declared island-wide through a gazette last night. BSL said that while the state of emergency is not a solution to the country's situation, it should not also be used to stifle peaceful protests and dissent or any arbitrary decisions. A state of emergency was declared by acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe across the country through an extraordinary gazette last night. According to the gazette, the state of emergency was brought into effect in line with the interest of public security, the protection of public order, and the maintenance of supplies and services essential to the life of the community. However, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka called on the acting president to forthwith revoke the proclamation declaring the state of emergency and to ensure that the fundamental rights of the people, such as the freedom of expression, including the freedom of speech and publication, and the freedom of peaceful assembly, are respected and not violated by any state actor. In a statement issued, the association went on to say that this is the third time the island has been placed under a state of emergency since the 1st of April. The BSL pointed out that the latest state of emergency has been declared 3 days before the parliament is to elect a successor to the office of president. As such, the BSL is of the view that at a time when the election to the office of president has been scheduled in parliament, the emergency regulations must not be used to suppress any legitimate expression of opinion on the election of the president, nor to suppress any dissent or disagreement on a particular candidate. Now, the parliamentary vote for the office of president will take place on Wednesday to select the country's 8th executive president. Nominations will be accepted by the General Secretary of Parliament tomorrow. 4 candidates have so far come forward to contest the election, with acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe, opposition leader and Samagi Janabalawege leader Sajith Premadasa, leader of the Jatika Janabalawege Anura Kumara Dissanayake, and parliamentarian of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna Dallas Alhaperuma are the candidates so far. Members of Parliament will submit their nominations for the office of President to the Secretary-General of Parliament ahead of the secret parliamentary vote on Wednesday to select the successor for presidency for the remaining term. The office of the President fell vacant following the resignation of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the 7th Executive President of Sri Lanka, effective 14th of July 2022. With only a day away for the parliamentary vote to select the country's 8th Executive President, all measures have been taken to beef up security near the entrance in Parliament to ensure security for members. Further, to ensure that parliamentarians exercise their vote without any hassle, acting President Ranil Wickremesinghe has ordered an investigation into those who are influencing MPs through social media to obstruct their right to vote freely during the election. The investigation was then handed over to the Computer Crime Investigation Division of Sri Lanka by the police headquarters. Speaking to AdaDerana, police media spokesperson SSP Niyal Talduwa said that stern action will be taken against those involved in such acts. In the meantime, parliamentarians of Samagi Janabalawege held talks today pertaining to the presidential vote.
ඡන්දෙට එන්න කලින් අපි ඡන්ද දෙන්නන්න ඕනේ. ඒකට උපක්‍රමයක් තාම නැති පාට. අපේ මත පළ කරාට ඒවට එක්තරා දැනට නැහැ. අපි පක්ෂ නායක සජිත් ප්‍රතිපත්තිබා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම 20 වෙනිදා ඡන්දෙට ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවා. පොහොට්ටුව CC එකට වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. පොහොට්ටුවේ 25ක් විතර අපිට දැන් පෞද්ගලිකව කතා කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒගොල්ලෝ ස්වාධීන තීරණය ගන්නවා කිව්වා. 20 වෙනිදා පස්සේ අපි කියන්නේ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස ජනාධිපතිතුමාද අගමැතිතුමාද විපක්ෂ නායකද? ජනාධිපති.
Another discussion worked off today between the opposition leader and parliamentarians of the 11 independent political parties. The discussion was also attended by SLPP parliamentarian Dallas Alaperuma, who has also expressed willingness to contest.
අපේ අදහස ඩලස් ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවා නම් විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා අගමැති හැටියට පත් වෙනවා නම් ඒක අපිට ගැළපෙනවායි කියලා අපි අතරේ කතාවක් තියෙනවා. නමුත් ඒක අවසාන තීරණයක් නෙමෙයි. තාම එකඟතාවයක් නැහැ.
In the meantime, parliamentarians of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna met today at their party headquarters in Battaramulla.
මේ අර්බුද වලට විසඳුමක් තමයි අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ. කවුද ජනාධිපති වෙනවා කියන එකට වැඩිය. එයා කොහොමද විසඳන්නේ කියන එක පිළිබඳව මේ දවස්වල අපි සාකච්ඡා කරගෙන යනවා. උදේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයා පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් කරුවා. ඊවරු මේ අර්බුදයේ විසඳන සැලැස්ම තියෙන අපේක්ෂකයොත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරලා හොඳම සැලසුම තියෙන කෙනාට ඡන්දය ලබලා.
පක්ෂයක් හැටියට තීන්දුව తీරන අරන් තියෙන මේ වෙලාවේ මේ රටේ දැනට තියෙන අරාජිකත්වය නැති කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම මේ රටේ තියෙන නීති ආධිපත්‍ය බිඳ වැටීම නැවත ස්ථාපිත කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම අපේ මේ වෙනකොට තියෙන ආර්ථික අර්බුදයට කිසියම් හෝ ආකාරයක පිළියමක් හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් පුද්ගලයෙක් රටේ නායකත්වයට පත් කළ යුතුයි කියන එක.
ඉතින් ඔබතුමාලා තීරණය කරන්න බැරිද ඩලස්ටද රනිල්ටද ඡන්ද සහයෝගය දෙන්නේ කියලා?
ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් මම දැන් තමයි ප්‍රකාශයක් කරලා තියෙන්නේ පක්ෂ ප්‍රකාශ.
Now, the leader of the opposition in Parliament, Sajith Premadasa, says that the new president elected by Parliament should be compatible with the aspirations at grassroots level. Speaking to Asian News International, Premadasa went on to say that the Sri Lanka needs a new mandate as the current government doesn't command the majority wishes of the people anymore.
Usually the president of Sri Lanka is chosen by the people. Right now what we have is 225 parliamentarians choosing the president. And this parliament composes of Gotabaya Rajapaksa's legislative majority. So it is from that particular composition that the president will be chosen. I have put my name forward.
Do you have majority?
We have to wait and see. We are talking to all the members of parliament. In this particular case, the victorious people should be in congruence with grassroots level thinking, with the outside opinion. Right now what you have is a parliament that does not represent the majority opinion of the people on the ground. So they will have to think far.
Do you have a plan to recover this country from economic debt?
Certainly. For 3 years we have been telling the government not to go ahead with these ill-advised economic steps, which has resulted in giving tax benefits to the super rich to the amount of 600 billion rupees, losing 4% of GDP as state income. There's a reduction from 12 to 8 of state income. Sri Lanka losing its rankings in the Fitch, Moody's and Standard and Poor rating systems, thereby precluding Sri Lanka to go into the international capital markets to raise refinancing loans. All these we have one by one described and requested the government, please don't do this. You're taking this country to devastation. They never listened, and we are in a devastated state right now.
You will defeat him because the majority, the vast majority with the SLPP and other allies.
So for Sri Lanka and the system to be corrected, we need a fresh electoral mandate. The mere manipulations taking place within Parliament would not suffice. We need a fresh mandate and we need to go for elections.
Now, a man was arrested with 50 canisters of tear gas that were forcibly taken away by protesters after they attacked security personnel at the Polduva junction on the 8th of July. The suspect was arrested by officers of the Valikada police station yesterday at Nana Karamawati in Obesekarapura. Following the interrogation of suspect, a total of 50 tear gas canisters were taken into police custody from his temporary residence at Gotami Road in Boralla. It was revealed that the suspect is a 31-year-old employed as a mason and is from the area of Kashapura in Polonnaruwa. Further investigations into the incident are being conducted by the Valikada police. We'll be back with more news after this break. Stay with us.
Big 3.
Welcome back. Now, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara urged the general public to stop queuing outside Sipetco refilling stations as fuel will only be made available at those stations only after vehicles in queues are removed. The announcement was made today following long queues that were seen following outside the CPC stations after yesterday's fuel price reduction. Meanwhile, Minister of Transport Bandulu Gunawardena instructed the National Transport Commission to reduce bus fares in line with the fuel prices. With effect from 10 p.m. last night, the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation and the Lanka Indian Oil Company reduced prices of fuel by the same rates. The prices of octane 95 petrol was reduced by 20 rupees a litre to 450 rupees, while 95 octane petrol was reduced by 10 rupees per litre to 540 rupees. The price of a litre of auto diesel was also reduced by 20 rupees to 440 rupees a litre, while the price of a litre of super diesel was also slashed by 10 rupees to 510 rupees. Following this, Minister of Transport Bandulu Gunawardena instructed the National Transport Commission to reduce bus fares in line with the reduction of fuel prices. Accordingly, the Minister has directed the NTC to reduce bus fares with effect from midnight tomorrow and announce the new prices tomorrow as well. Following this, private bus operators announced that the benefit of the fuel price reduction would be passed down to the people through a revision of bus fares. Secretary of the All Ceylon Bus Owners Association, Anjana Priyanjit, said that with the fuel prices reduced by 20 rupees, bus fares can also be reduced by 4%. Bus fares were increased by 22% on the 30th of June, raising the minimum bus fare to 40 rupees. Meanwhile, many people were queuing their vehicles outside CPC refilling stations, especially after last night's fuel price revision. However, fuel is currently being dispensed to the general public via Lanka IOC filling stations across the country, while Sipetco issues fuel only for essential services. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara, taking to Twitter, said that fuel will only be distributed to the Sipetco filling stations only after the long queues are removed. He said that numerous requests were made not to queue at the Sipetco fuel stations until distribution commences, and added that the national fuel and fuel issuance based on the last digit of the vehicle number plate will be strictly implemented. Minister Wijesekara said that the date the fuel app will go into effect will be announced soon. He emphasized the need for public support to implement the procedure smoothly and upgrade as needed. According to the Ministry of Power and Energy, over 1 million people have successfully registered for the National Fuel Pass via www.fuelpass.gov.lk. In the meantime, the Managing Director of Lanka IOC Manoj Gupta said that operations are underway at the Trincomalee storage terminal to release 2 million litres of petrol through 125 fuel bowsers. Minister Kanchana Wijesekara announced today that 2 diesel cargoes have been discharged from Colombo, while another consignment of diesel at the Colombo port remains to be discharged. He went on to say that another consignment of petrol is undergoing quality sampling and will be discharged tomorrow. The minister added that Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited will commence deliveries to rural depots by trains and trucks tomorrow. With this being the case, he also announced that the Ministry of Youth with National Youth Corps and its members have volunteered to assist the National Fuel Pass initiative. They will assist the public to register with the platform by volunteering at fuel stations in rural areas from the 21st of July. Meanwhile, responding to a question during Saturday's media briefing, Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said that while India is the only country that has provided a credit line to Sri Lanka to procure fuel, Sri Lanka held preliminary discussions with Russia for fuel as well.
We have made requests to different countries. We have made requests to India. We have made requests to every friendly nation. Any country that comes to help us, we appreciate that. Right now, the Indian government is the only country that has provided us with a credit line. And of course, we are in discussion with the Russian government as well. The ambassador to Russia met the energy minister, the deputy prime minister in Russia day before yesterday, after the phone call that took place between His Excellency Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. So after those conversations, the initial meetings have taken place in Russia. So we have given our requirements. We are working on it. So we are waiting to hear what sort of facility that will be accommodated to Sri Lanka.
Now, Sri Lankan Ambassador to China, Dr. Palitha Kona, hopes the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank would come up with a package to help Sri Lanka deal with the outstanding debt, as the two institutions remain the country's largest creditors. In an exclusive interview with Global Times on Friday, Dr. Kona said it is hoped that terms and conditions attached to the IMF package under discussion will not be onerous, imposing further suffering on the people. The envoy said Sri Lanka owed only 10% of outstanding debt to China, adding that investments via China's Belt and Road Initiative will be crucial, as many projects that bring foreign direct investments into the country are planned to be implemented. In an interview with Global Times, Sri Lankan ambassador to China Dr. Palitha said that investments from China's Belt and Road Initiative will continue to be critical to the Sri Lankan economy since it will bring foreign exchange into the country. Dr. Konas said that the Sri Lankan embassy in Beijing is encouraging a number of Chinese renewable energy companies to establish ventures in Sri Lanka, adding that there are other infrastructure projects planned, including a light rail project with an immediate impact on the economy. He said talks on establishing a steel-making plant in Hambantota are also underway, but at a preliminary stage. When the Sri Lankan envoy was inquired about the concerns on terms and conditions attached on an IMF bailout plan, Dr. Konas said that it is hoped those terms and conditions will not be onerous because the country is not in a position to impose further suffering on the people. He went on to say that some of the implications of debt restructuring will be difficult for the country, adding that from past experiences, the first IMF recommendation would be to tighten the belt further, and in some cases, it's difficult because the belt is already on the last notch. In response to a question on what role he expects other international organizations like the World Bank to play in speeding up Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process, the Sri Lankan envoy said that the island's largest creditors are the Asian Development Bank, the World Bank, and a substantial amount is also owed to other institutional investors from the West, for example the Wall Street. He said it is hoped that the World Bank and the ADB will be able to come up with a package that will help Sri Lanka deal with the debt problem. Dr. Palitha also said that Sri Lanka encourages its bilateral partners including India, Japan and China to provide more assistance as the country needs its friends to help out from the immediate difficulties. Welcome back. In your business news, the Colombo Bourse closed in the green today with the index gaining 0.92%. The all-share price index gained 7,536.61 rather after gaining 68.79 points. The S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks meanwhile also ended in the green by gaining 0.95% to end at 2,423.08. Indices closed in green as a result of prices gains in counters such as Sampath Bank, Haley's and LOLC Holdings with the turnover crossing Rs 1.4 billion. High net worth and institutional investor participation was noted in John Keel's holdings. Foreign participation in the market activity remained at subdued levels with foreigners closing as net buyers. Now, a gunman killed 3 people when he opened fire in a food court in a shopping mall outside Indianapolis yesterday before a bystander fatally shot the assailant. The other 2 people were injured in the incident which took place in the early evening at Greenwood Park Mall. The armed bystander is identified as a 22-year-old man and the shooter was alone and had a rifle and several magazines of ammunition. Police did not release the names of the victims, gunman or bystander. The shootings occurred amid widespread concerns over the drumbeat of US shootings in schools, workplaces and public areas that regularly make headlines. A spate of gun massacres since May at a New York grocery store, a Texas elementary school and an Illinois Independence Day parade have made renewed fierce US debate over gun regulations. The US House Judiciary Committee will take up proposed legislation this week that would ban certain assault weapons. However, it is expected to pass the Senate. Now that's all from us here at AdaDerana's English News. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.